I would like to thank ORF for providing me the opportunity to speak on the role of government in promoting responsible adoption of Web3 technologies. I represent the parliamentary constituency of Ambedkar Nagar with 1.8 million voters who are predominantly rural and agrarian. I will approach this topic keeping in mind how Web3 and blockchain can benefit people and how policy should be shaped in order to protect their interest and allow positive nurturing environment for the industry. I want to remind the audience that even in the US, 30% of land title deeds are flawed, and the number is drastically greater in India. Access to schemes like rations, crop insurance, pensions, and medical welfare are often misappropriated by middlemen, and citizens are deprived of the full benefit. Every Indian in this room can adhere to the fact that getting a simple caste certificate to avail the benefits of affirmative action is frustrating, torturous, and even humiliating. Web3 and blockchain have the potential to change this and provide solutions to such challenges by making it more transparent and democratized. Tech companies like Facebook, Google, Twitter use competitive bottlenecks to aggregate and harvest the personal data of their users. By operating as gatekeepers across a range of industries, these internet giants now tax and mediate value creation in the digital economy by owning and utilizing our data for unknown and unimaginable purposes. Edward Snowden's revelations and the Cambridge Analytica fiasco, 2008 financial crisis, and others have led to the trust deficit in these big data aggregators and increased the demand for a decentralized internet and financial systems. Web3 is a decentralized and equitable internet technology where any platform and app built will be owned by the user rather than the central gatekeeper. Based on three fundamentals, the blockchain that stores all data on asset ownership and the history of conducted transactions, smart contracts that represent application logic and can execute specific tasks independently, and digital assets that can represent anything or the value and engage with smart contracts to become programmable. Web3 is also a building block for an interoperable metaverse that is entirely virtual, has a virtual universe under construction. In order to function in the metaverse, an entity is required to own a token which is either mined or traded on an open source platform. And today, such tokens are attracting massive investments, even in India. The IMF estimates crypto markets capitalization as 2.5 trillion by the end of 2022. Intellectuals, governments, and central banks grapple with questions like whether finance as we know it can survive the rise of cryptocurrencies. My constituents, and particularly educated youth in rural India, are becoming aware of the potential growth of this new internet revolution and don't want to miss being a part of it, and therefore, you can see a rise in first-time investments in the space from a mere 14.7% in November 2021 to almost 30% in April this year, which is in fact double in just 5 months. While the country is reeling with a 7.9% unemployment rate, industry experts have estimated that over 8 lakh new jobs could be created by the year 2030 in India alone in the Web3 industry. However, due to fears of volatility in the market and the stance of the government, which is justifiable, has been to discourage investors away from this space. I believe that we need to re-examine the taxation structures for virtual digital assets. There is a negative impact of the 1% TDS that the government has imposed in India. Trading volumes, for example, WazirX, which is one of the biggest crypto exchanges in India, dropped by more than 200% from nearly $13 million in July, $13 million in July, on July 1st to $4 million on July 2nd, 2022. This is after this law was imposed. The government has to ensure that there is adequate protection to protect investors from issues such as cyber theft of funds, the credibility of exchanges, and other concerns. A grievous readjustment process is the need of the hour, as thousands flock to exchanges with no legal protection as of today. Young Indian engineers who understand these technologies should be provided with regulatory sandboxes to hone the talent and to get ahead in the Web3 race. In principle, Web3 looks like a terrific concept, which is better than an internet controlled by a handful mega corporation, a promising governance infrastructure that could resolve many problems of the internet we use today, such as the fact that we have no control over what's happening with our private data, the lack of transparency along the supply chains of goods and services, and the financial payments, or the fact that the internet lacks an inherent payment settlement layer, forcing us to trust and operate big data platforms such as Amazon, Airbnb, and Uber. In the past, we have successfully tapped technological advancements of governance delivery and financial inclusion, be it the utilization of Aadhaar cards for the welfare schemes, putting land records online, or the unified payment interface popularly known as BHIM app. Considering our talent pool, we should offer our governance challenges, especially for rural constituencies like Ambedkar Nagar, to these talented Web3 engineers to solve them. I believe that Web3 has the potential to provide us with great financial opportunities. Something like Web2 to the US has produced the likes of Google. We should also take the advantage of becoming a global leader in this field. I would like to give you some statistics here. 450 Web3 startups have come out of India. 60% of these have left the country and registered outside to cater customers globally as well. So 60% of these 450 startups are catering customers globally. $1.3 billion have been raised by these Indian startups. 4 of these are web unicorns. India has the third largest web talent pool in the world after the US and China. I believe that this has to be honed and allowed to flourish in our country. In the end, I would just like to quote a Bollywood song that an individual had, from my constituency, had quoted to me while the taxation was introduced in the finance bill. He mockingly told me, kuch kariye, nas nas meri khole, kuch kariye, bas bad bole, which means do something, every vein of mine is boiling, enough of this talk, you need to do something now. And I think, as policymakers, it is the time to act on the Web3 space and provide a good policy framework for individuals to function and companies to function in it. Thank you very much.